I said, ain't no sense being no spook. If you ain't willing to be spooky. So I guess I'm gonna be an electric spook. Is that all right? To the body of a green South sheep wearing top kind of poem. Be thrown as a brick through the window of a grocery store so we may pillage and plunder its shelves for food for the hungry kind of poem. Be laid on top of a poem, be laid on top of a poem, be laid on top of a poem, be laid on top of a poem. So that we can build a shelter for the homeless. Does a poem need $1 million war chest or a foundation grant to be mightier than the sword? What good does a poem do? A spoiled, bloated belly? Can a poem lay hands on the sick and clothe the naked? Can a poem work voodoo on an ACT score? Can a poem pull the rent payment from a magician's hat? Can poems assassinate Negro turncoats who have sold their souls to racist rands? Can poems cut short the lives of serpentine superintendents who slyly suffocate African babies under Euro excrement disguised as Caucasian curriculums? Poets are the African bees of political pollination, and poems are the sperms of revolution. We need poets to stop adding extra syrup and sap into their sonnets to appease the pale palates of people who have not the stomach for straight no chase of truth. We need poets to stop mindlessly masturbating away their talents into the mental napkins of oversexed audiences. We need poets to start impregnating thoughts of black magnolias bursting through white cement into the minds of raving virgin souls who were violently torn in the reproductive rot process of health aversion. Poems are the sperms of revolution. Are you making love to your people or simply fornicating away your existence? Thank you. How y'all doing this morning? Come on now, that's a little bit better. How y'all doing this morning?
Good. All right.
My name is Liegh McInnis. I'm a writer, as they said. I'm originally from just up the road, Clarksville, Mississippi. So it means I was blues born, blues bred. When I die, I'm gonna be blues dead, because that's all I know. But I want y'all to know that I'm here today simply to let you know that everything you have inside of you is possible. You are a vessel. There's a song called the Corinthian song that says that you are a vessel filled with power, with a treasure for the world. And if you get nothing else from my poetry tonight today, I want you to know that you are a vessel with a special gift. No, we good, appreciate it. And that you have something inside of you. Because when I was sitting where you guys were as a student at Jackson State, or when I was a student at Coahoma County High School up in the Delta, I didn't know any writers, but I led a lot of writers. I read a lot of writers. And my whole goal was to simply be a writer. The only two things that I ever wanted to do was be a writer and play shortstop for the Cincinnati Reds. Those are the only two things that I ever wanted to do. And as you can see, the baseball dream didn't work out. So I'm going to read some poems today, and then I want us to have a little talk at the end. So I want somebody to let me know when we're like at the 30-minute mark, because I do want to do a little Q&A. This next poem, one of the things we don't teach about our liberation struggle are the different types of people who participate. We know some of the names, but the problem is we get the same names over and over and over. So whenever I'm writing about our liberation movement, I like to write about the names people know, but I also like to write about the names people don't know. Because you guys need to understand that our liberation struggle was not by old people. Our liberation struggle was by young folks like you who sat in, who marched, who refused to use their money or give their money to people who oppressed them. So this poem is simply titled Mississippi Courage, a Lighthouse to the World, for Medgar, Fannie Lou, and Miss Annie Devine. And Miss Annie Devine was as powerful in the movement as Medgar and Fannie Lou, except you don't know her because she was simply a school teacher who went about her business of liberation work. Courage is a lighthouse guiding ships to salvation. Courage is a fire that burns down the dead weeds of racism that rise to suffocate the voices of liberty. Courage is the antibiotic that kills the bacteria of hatred. Courage was the nucleus of the Mississippi Trinity, 3 lamps full of freedom oil that shine the path of dirt and gravel roads of liberation, and insurance salesman, a sharecropper, and a teacher. 3 instructors of liberation teaching that righteous needs only bow before God, and that the children of God have an unyielding organic need to protect the meek like umbrellas, shielding us from the acid showers of colonialism or overcoats, shielding us from the frozen winds of prejudice. 3 3 bucking broncos running against those pale cowboys who lurked in the arm of the night with silver bullets of white supremacy. 3 lambs of justice who boldly walked into the snake pit of the South, into the lion's den of America to snatch their freedom from Ross, Nebuchadnezzar, Barnett, and Pharaoh Buell, and the salamandering scribes, the Jackson Daily News, and insurance salesmen, the sharecropper, and the teacher. See, they bore the cross of chains. They were the fertile soil in which we planted our seeds of hope. They petitioned us to invest the collateral of our talents into the mutual fund of the movement. That's why we must be tired of paper tiger intellectuals and playboy revolutionaries who care more about their Cadillac payments than tilling the soil of every education is there, standing on the backs and trampling the fruits of Medgar, Fannie, and Miss Annie Devine. See, these 3 midwives had nurtured the germination of a movement which caused the rippling of flowers and trees sprouting through the winter of racism into the spring of transformation. Like Shaka, they were the pounding tum-tum heart of a militant movement. Like Yeshua, they came to heal the sick, and like Muhammad, they laid the blueprint for their people. Still, everyday people fighting for everyday concerns, speaking volumes with their actions. This Trinity shook the fibers of the universe. Through intellectual guerrilla warfare with the spirit of Jomo Kenyatta, they showed that leaders can't teach people to stand as mighty as magnolia trees if they are weeping willows bowing on their knees to the winds of wrongdoing. They embraced the sword of justice and the fire of protest, becoming ministers for justice and preachers of the gospel of freedom, teaching us to be the engine of organizations rather than be driven and plowed over by them. With very little possessions, they fought for the dispossessed, each one crying 900,000 jubilee tears for 900,000 of right and walking citizens at the mercy of miseducated teachers and chicken-eating preachers, all the while refusing to fight evil with evil, believing that only love is the antidote to hate. For when held to the light of truth and courage, truth is the mirror reflection of love, and no greater love than he who would lay down his shiver, cashmere coat of life for another, so that he may be walked over and the cesspool of struggle his payment. To be beaten, kicked, sprayed, spit on, spied, lied on, bummed out, and turned out just for a few crumbs of token positions and just enough money to move across the tracks into the homes that pale people abandoned to preserve the marmalade of Mississippi tradition. In the blood-stained name of emancipation, equality, and liberty, this thick, sweet potato aroma of their lingering legacy demands that we heed the call to explode this corrupt cocoon into a capital city of concrete citizens. So I don't know if I'm going to heaven or hell, but wherever I'm going for Mississippi. I'm going for Mississippi. Thank you. I'm getting old. Woo. I don't remember these poems being this long. Again, I am okay. We'll go with this one. Then I'll come back to the others. Make some noise if you love your HBCU. Some of y'all clap like I'm gonna wait till I get my grade. Let me see my grade. That's how you know how much I love my HBCU. May 15, 1970. Anybody know anything about that date, May 15, 1970? May 15, 1970, the Jackson Police Department, the Mississippi National Guard, and the Jackson Mississippi Highway Patrol walked onto the Jackson State campus the Sunday before graduation. Nothing was happening, there was no rally, there was no marches. Those young people were doing absolutely nothing but being young people the Sunday before graduation. They surrounded the campus, marched down Lynch Street, did a left face, and fired over 900 shots into a female dorm, killing 2 students and wounding 18. That is why if you go to Jackson State now, if you've ever noticed why the street stops, that street used to go all the way through the campus. But after that shooting, and then everything that happened after that, they closed that street so that we wouldn't have any more things like that. But we need people to understand, those students were doing absolutely nothing but being students. Why? Because the most dangerous thing to an oppressor is the education of the oppressed. The most dangerous thing that you can be is an educated human being. As Frederick Douglass says in his book, Narrative of a Life, when his master found out that his wife was teaching him how to read, she said, no. Do not teach him how to read. Because once you teach a slave how to read, he will be unfit to be a slave. And so I read this poem and dedications to all HBCUs, but you will notice that there's a passage in there that speaks about that night. And I wanted you guys to know when I got to it that I'm speaking about that because my father was there that night. Not only was my father there that night, my father was greatly involved in the movement because my father did not get drafted to Vietnam. My father was so active in the movement before he got to college that a white sheriff came to my grandfather's house and said, hey, if that little Negro is still here next week, he's gonna be real familiar with the tree. So my grandfather put my father in the military because Vietnam was safer than Mississippi. Wow. I need y'all to wrap y'all brain around it. And so that's the liberation struggle that we're still fighting when they try to pass bills to close our schools, when they try to pass bills to merge our schools, when they try to pass bills to defund our schools. Don't think that you're not still trying to be lynched today. And the question is, you as an educator, you as an educated young person, what are you going to do to fight that? The tree of life, black colleges be here. Black colleges are the water, fertilized, and scorched earth remaining the only well from which we can drink freely of ourselves. They be the consistency of summer, always following the spring, removing the frigid film or freezer burn from the fresh eyes of chocolate funds. Soul colleges be the sunshine, the stewardship, producing battle-tested butterflies breaking through concrete cocoons that gold and new dawn slicing through the tight twilight of subjugation. No matter your dusty deeds or witchcraft words, R&B academies be the precise clock that never stop through budget cuts and program cuts and people cuts and cuts just to see how sharp their supremacy can be. But with all of the chainsaw cutting by the lumberjacks of the legislature, our legacy remains a mighty magnolia tree tower high above the cantankerous canard about obsidian wisdom. Militia congressmen run highways to our campuses like it's Grand Central Station. City mayors sit blinded by the greenbacks from pale palms as our deserted decor dilapidates with the frosted flight of fleeing industry. Yet when the heavily armed swastika of Mississippi marched in the merciless May, on the future of commit seeds like misguided pesticides, desperately trying to trample the fluorescent flowers of hope, with a thunderstorm of steel rain that poured through the funnel cloud of Governor Paul B. Johnson's chalky heart and through the lightning rods of state-issued machine guns and redneck rifles, 700 rounds that were fired into the soul of the urban think tank of muddy waters. 700 steel arrows pelted screaming babies, hanging like rag dolls from broken windows, leaving crimson dreams saturating the campus grounds like a sea flood of the Middle Passage. And when the rage and storm was finished, leaving brick buildings shredded like Swiss cheese, and the stain of death was clean with the mosaic spirits of life, and the tears were dried with the silk washcloth of Southern soul babies. We stood on the steps of Lynch Street and said, you missed, Mr. Governor, you missed, cause still we be here, here we be still. So vomit any venom you will, we still be planted here in this place, in this moment in time, becoming a rock upon which we build a bastilla of black brain power steadier than a half-but affirmative action plans at antebellum schools that ain't never been affirmed by Colonel Rev or Major Millsaps. We still be the birds and bees impregnating ebony minds with red, black, and green knowledge. We be the spawn and spoil of ghetto prodigies that plant their visions of sovereignty. We be the rain that washes away the dead soil of Jim Crow and revitalizes the seeds of Onyx autonomy. We be the oxygen that flows through the lungs of raven lambs. We be the rod and the staff of indigo Israelites trapped in Pharaoh's pandemonium of whiteness. We be the shepherds of the flock, leading them to the green pastures of self-determination. So we might be limping like wounded liberation soldiers but our history gives us endless ammunition. We might be misdirected pilots flying backwards, but our compass is still facing the North Star of freedom. We might be staggering punch-drunk fighters but like Ali's apex, we shall rise in the last rounds and strike a mighty death blow to English, thus defying the good old boy and backdoor settlement heirs where black representatives in whiteface pretzelize themselves into compromising positions so that Governor Muskrat can stand tall on the legacy of Barnett Dam and the funds flowing into HBCU rivers, attempting to keep our institutions as breeding grounds for sharecropper labor. With back and hands burning and straining from the whip and wheel of history, we pull with every fiber of our weary body to combine our cornbread and greens with the curriculum of Washington and Du Bois in a way that illuminates emancipation that is not planted in the wavering fickle soil of slick silvery liberalism, but planted in the Garvey-rich soul of one people, one aim, one destiny to flower to freedom. See, We bestow BAs in cast iron survival. We bestow MAs in self-induced love. We bestow MBAs in collective quilted work. We bestow PhDs in ferocious freedom fighting. So even though the clans of Congress continue to spit sour speech about the spoils of our legacy, we remain the highway to hallelujah for children desperately trying to escape the plantation of poorly plotted schools that rape their souls and lynch their dreams. We be the watchboard for aspiring their minds, and we be mired into the mush of Caucasian curriculums that we be the underground railroad for the offspring whose parents found freedom on the tracks of our train. So write for what you will about our wayward words, our actions will continue to churn your spoiled milk into the fresh cream fortified with dark chocolate crystals. Black bakeries of brilliance be here because butterscotch minds need chefs who understand how to cultivate them toward the sun, continue to produce caramel culinary that is a healing fruit so that our community can germinate alongside the ashy counterparts and not be strangled by the weeds of poor funding, not be eaten by the insects of unfair admission standards, not be melted under the heat of improperly used test scores. So colorful colleges remain as a greenhouse to the bouquet of jubilee that nurtures the tree of life for all of the atoms and all of the E's. And as long as the mocha masses be in need, we will be here as one tree, fighting for all. Thank you. Who knows what a haiku is? Anybody? What's a haiku? Right? What's a haiku?
It's a 3-line printer.
Three-line poem, 17 syllables. So you have to say everything you want to say in 17 syllables. Not 17 words, but 17 syllables. When I was young, I used to hate writing haiku. Because how could you say everything you wanted to say in 17 syllables? Now, you guys have X, right? We got, what, 140 characters?
Yeah.
And you have to be able to communicate yourself in a way that the whole world hears you. So I'm going to read one haiku, and then another poem that started as a haiku, but I added the extra one, because I couldn't say everything I needed to say in those 3 syllables. These are based on, my wife is a political map maker. You know, I want to take a guess what that is? What do you think a political map maker is? Anybody want to take a guess? What's a political map maker? Talk to me, there's no test. What do you think a political map maker is? Yes! Makes maps, what kind of maps?
Geographical map.
City lines that determine what?
Money.
Money, voting. So my wife by herself has been responsible for creating, in the last 10 years, 3 new voting districts that allow black people to elect the officials of their choice. So if you ever wonder why the census is important, that's part of the things that they do with the census data. And so I wrote this haiku just to briefly let folk know, because a lot of us, we ain't messing with that census, right? We ain't filling it out, we ain't dealing with it. But then we wonder why we don't have stuff in our community. We wonder why they cannot then properly fund our education. And as long as we continue not to complete the census, they can treat us like they've always treated us, like we're invisible. So this haiku is simply called Census Blues. They are counting us to figure out how many more jails they need to build. Thank you. Told you 17 syllables. The next one, same thing. This is a haiku. The first 2 lines is haiku, but then I added a 4th line to it. It's not quite a tonka, because I know Dr. Zane is in the house, so I wanted to, it's not a tonka. The haiku comes out of the tonka. So a tonka is a 5-line poem, haiku is a 3-line poem, so it's not quite a tonka. But this one is simply called Redistricting Blues. Because again, along with the census, what they do is they try to draw us out of power by putting us in districts where we can't control who gets elected. So this was simply called Redistricting Blues. Black men can't draw no congressional district lines because the white men say he ain't got the right ink in his pen. Thank you. Isn't that stupid? Right? And that's the point is, you go to these congressional hearings or you go to these town hall forums, and the silly stuff they say about why they made these districts. or why they closed districts. Do you know that the state of Mississippi has just recently closed 50 voting places?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. What do you think whose districts do you think those voting districts will close? Black districts. Not one polling place, not one place to go vote has been closed where white people vote. You have to ask yourself, why is that? I'm gonna read two more and then we're gonna talk. Make sure I'm good on time. Good. All right, so this one is going to be a little bit more quiet. Rainey was just an average Mississippi guy and wasn't that involved in the movement. It's important to know that Rainey wasn't that involved in the movement. He just happened to know people who were involved in the movement. Right? And Rainey was murdered in broad daylight by a man who was an elected official. So this was a known man, elected official, walked up to Rainey and said, I don't like you hanging out with them rabble rousers, took out his gun on the sidewalk and shot Rainey And for 30 years, absolutely nothing happened. And so in the early 90s, there was this movement, Justice for Rainey And so myself and a group called Southern Echo and some other folk, we got together. We said, hey, we need to at least let people know that this man's murderer. Because it was important to know that this was just a guy who happened to know people who acted. He wasn't himself not really that active. He was a good guy, did a lot of work. And so I wrote this poem titled, Put the Ghost to Rest for Rainey At the end of the poem, there's going to be a listing. And I'm simply listing the day that certain black people were killed. But I don't give you their name. I just give you their jobs, what they did. And I do that because even today, there are far too many black people dying needlessly, like they are a number. I just want you to think about when you're hearing this list and what these people do and when they died. And ask yourself, is there any correlation then to now that we're still treating black death like it does not matter? Confession might be good for the soul, but it ain't even good enough for a conviction. Particularly for a Greenville judge adjudicating pale justice on black souls that toil in a perpetual purgatory, waiting on a Moses to set them free. The scrupulous stench in the form of unsolved crimes lingers like the smell of heated rotten fish because we'd rather wash them away than undress. We'd rather wish them away than undress and watch the nasty annals of time. A Greenwood newspaper man speaks of a white defendant's right to a speedy trial while selectively forgetting the right of reciprocity, especially when that justice was delayed by an equity system which was a double-tongued whore with both eyes covered, choking on the backside of Caucasian control that gave the middle finger treatment to the children of Nat Turner. The bleak supremacy degradation zestfully funds Bibles and lynch ropes with tax dollars. A time of Christians crucifying prophets in the name of Jesus and the Mississippi way. Now, white businessmen worry about the dignity of the matter as dignity becomes a synonym for antebellum commerce. And Sam Bowell was raised with Hegel as a prophetic philosopher since we know more about Watergate than we know about the Philadelphia cities. We never noticed the felony convictions and life sentences has replaced lynchings and castration. No one notices how big cop college kid killers became the chief of the law and the Hines County magistrate while Mrs. Rainey was questioned about her decaying husband neighbors as night riders went back to their day jobs under the cover of sunlight for 30 sanitized years until there is a surfacing of conscience. Or does the crap eventually float to the top of the pool? Or does a silent passing of gas eventually cause us to question who did the dirty deed? It's liberation time as ghosts linger on the backyard stoops of our distortedly decorated memories as crimson footsteps pave a walkway to the front door of the governor's mansion while silent voices speak in tongues of those desperate to tell their own stories. It is a roll call of the unrequited. A slave preacher, December 11, 1831. A Mississippi reverend, May 7, 1955. A World War II lieutenant, August 13, 1955. A 14-year-old child, August 28, 1955. A brother, August 25, 1959. A farmer, September 25, 1961. A journalist, September 30, 1962. A secretarial activist, June 12, 1963. 4 junior Miss babies, September 15, 1963. A witness, January 31st, 1964. 2 brothers just taking a walk home, May 2nd, 1964. 3 bus riders in Philadelphia, Mississippi, June 21st, 1964. A Louisiana peace officer, June 2nd, 1965. A Hattiesburg grocery store owner, January 10th, 1966. A 65-year-old caretaker, June 10th, 1966. A Natchez, Mississippi factory worker, February 22nd, 1967. A man walking across the street to Jackson State University to get his wife a damn sandwich, May 12th, 1967. A Black Panther, December 4th, 1969. A decorated Vietnam veteran, 1970. A 20th century escaped slave, May 2nd, 1973. A Pennsylvania radio journalist, December 9th, 1981. When will we put these ghosts to rest? Thank you. Two more, and then we'll talk. Any football people here? All right. Quick question. Who the greatest football player of all time? Call out. Who the greatest football player of all time?
Tom Brady. Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis, Tom Brady, Michael Vick.
Jerry Rice.
Oh, say it again.
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice. Where Jerry Rice go to school?
Right here.
Oh, who still got all the records? Who still got all the records? Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure. Who the greatest running back of all time? Who? Wait, I thought I heard it. Who? Doug, say it again. Oh, nigga, boy, that's my jam right there. Just one more time for me. Walter Payton. I was privileged to see Jerry Rice play, see McNair play, when old enough to see Walter play. But I can tell you, the vet has hit 60,000 people 3 times. One time, because of Steve McNair. One time, because of Jerry Rice. And one time, because of Walter Payton. So don't ever let anybody tell you that y'all new to this. Jackson State, Tennessee State, Grambling. For the first 20 years of the NFL, they were in the top 5 schools of all-time players into the NFL. And Jackson State actually still, it was just broken last year, it was broken 2 years ago. Until 2 years ago, Jackson State held the record for the most players from one team drafted into the NFL in one draft, 11. It was that Walter Payton team, Walter Payton senior year. And that Walter Payton team had 3 NFL Hall of Famers on it. And do you know that team didn't even win the Black National Championship? So a team with 3 Hall of Famers, Walter Payton, Slater wasn't on that team. Payton, yes it was, Payton, Slater, and Dr. Doom. Because Lynn Barton was the other NFL Hall of Famer. He came out like when everything was still in black and white. So this poem is about Walter Payton, but it's also about the greatness that HBCUs have and continue to produce. It's called The Sweetness of Life for Walter Payton. Walter be moving and juking. He be James Browning on the good foot with his brand new bag, cause Papa never did take no mess. Getting up on the downstroke, stiff arm and white supremacy. Walls to be moving and juking. Like a trailblazer on the Underground Railroad, he followed the freedom path from Jackson to Chi-Town, connecting chocolate cities that the SWAC soul train running from poverty right into the Hall of Fame. Now he stands as a statue standing for manhood like Charlie Bird Parker, be moving and juking up and down the scales of highs and lows, sweetness feet. Be musical complications, bebopping birds' nose into the shotguns like breaking the cotton confines of Columbus cotton chains. Sweetness be the jazzy versification of a Langston Hughes poem and a downright validity of Dunbar's Take a bird shape-shifted funny Valentine. Sweetness restyled Lombardi sweet, taking a flat note and bending it until it was accumulated into altitudinal arc. Sweetness turned running lanes into beautiful possibilities like the kinetic colors of a Romar Bearden collage. Sweetness feet like salmon's feet be tap dancing and rhythmic cows pounding out beats that burst into the door. So fast in what the body can. That's the unchangeable technique that time travels back to Timbuktu like the muddy Mississippi flows back to the Congo. Swinging and swaying like sweetness be surviving Sunday morning. Warfare like Robert Smalls navigating the high seas. Walls to be dodged and paddle road and linebackers that defensive ends determined to end him. Thus we stood on the sidelines, knowing that every yard was another small step for man, a major amount for mankind, and a heavenly hellacious move for the highlight reel. With his smooth, salty, shaking swerve, sweetness broke more ankles than the mob and more hearts than Denzel. Walls to be moving and juking like we be breaking verb, cause verb breaking represents the power of people whose vernacular was sacked in the end zone from the blind side, but still gave birth to a tongue which became America's soul language, cause the dialect is in you like culture being yams, and every juicy bite that you taste the functified essence of a people. See, every move you could feel the vibration of his ebony antiquity, that be sweetness. His body language had more words and Webster had more clarity than hooked on phonics. He was an athletic ambassador for humanity, high-stepping and hurtling through the walls of injustice. Every yard trampling out the sour muscadine growths of Jim Crow, and every first down crushing under his 4.4 yard per carry. The pale, meanest, malicious white lie about black academies. He be striving like civil rights marchers on their way to Washington. One more yard, one more yard, one more yard. Like we be striving one more day, one more day, one more day to pay our bills, to keep blissing us like those 85 bears. Yet Walter became a bronze-skinned, woolly-haired baby who willingly sacrificed his gridiron life so that he could bestow proprietorship to the people that only double-crossed by the double-tongued ivy capitalism. He be, they say, too small cause his school be too small. Still, he be the glorious second coming of all that came before him. Badder than Superman, he be HBCU man with the power of Jim Brown and the speed of Gale Sayers and more elusive than, you know, that person who didn't get away, and high flying Houdini and Barry Sanders. Walter be just another John the Baptist making way for his HBCU homeboys who become household names. And when the dust had cleared, this small man from a small school stood 16,726 yards taller than any Titan from Mount Division I, proving that the SWAC is the MAC of the NFL. Yet, sweetness like yams belongs to everybody. His hips made us believe in the democracy of sport. With his blue bingo heart and his Windy City courage, he made warriors of us all. He was a rainbow rhythm that caused our humanity to rise like the Nile, making fertile the hearts of man to love past their fear. His Sunday sermons were like revivals to the soul, for him be the spirit of a man possessed with the syncopated cadence of life. He be sweetness, making our lives a bit more savory. Even in his vivid vulnerability, he managed to become a mountain of a man than most. Still teaching lessons in his last days. His true sweetness was his golden love for family and his honey zest for mankind. This be sweetness, an exhilaration of altruism and cleats, and with those cleats, he plotted a perfectly painted path for us to become champions of our own destiny. Thank you. That last part was me giving homage to the fact, who knows what award is named for Payton in the NFL? Charity Award, Man of the Year. All those things that I said about him as a great athlete. The thing about which I'm most proud is he was known as a leader of people. When you leave this institution, we want you to be financially sovereign. I want to be very clear. Because if you're not financially sovereign, then your people can't become financially sovereign. But along with being financially sovereign, my father was, when he was working on his master's, he had all his books on the table, and he was doing his study and everything, and he said his mother, my grandmother, walked in, and she looked at all the books and looked at everything he was doing, and she said, that's good, baby, but let me ask you something. She said, yes, ma'am. What you gonna do with your degree when you get it? So that's what I ask each one of y'all. What you gonna do with your degree when you get it? Always remember, life is not about how much money you put in the bank of man. It's about how much money you put in the bank of mankind. That make sense? So I'm gonna leave y'all with this last poem, and then I hope I said enough to make y'all want to talk back to me or something. I travel around a lot. Like I said, I'm a writer. That's really all I can do. Unfortunately for my wife, if something around the house is broke, it's just broke. Like I said, I'm a writer, call somebody. But when I travel, and I do a lot of social activism work, wherever I go, I always get the same question. What's Mississippi like? And not only do they ask me what Mississippi like, they ask me, say, what's Mississippi like? And then they take 2 steps back, so I don't get it on them when I'm telling them about it. Bob Moses. I want y'all to write down his name, Bob Moses. Everybody write down his name, Bob Moses. Bob Moses is one of the greatest social organizers America has known. Bob Moses. And Bob Moses said, when you're in the rest of the world, Mississippi doesn't seem real. And when you're in Mississippi, the rest of the world don't seem real. And sadly, not much has changed. And so after years of people asking me, what's Mississippi like, what's Mississippi like? I finally sat to write a poem. And for some of the professors in here, I always like to give homage. Because I use as template for my poem, the poem Before My People by Margaret Walker Alexander, who is one of my foundations of being a writer. Margaret Walker being one, Richard Wright being the other. So this poem is simply Mississippi Life. What is it to be Mississippi? Where capital streets cause cotton fields and marvelous jubilees jam with Eudora festivals, and even when there are college cuts, controversies in the can with plenty of revolution, religion, and red ripe tomatoes and rebels, rubies, racist rags, this is all my Mississippi. It's little boys putting dirt in abandoned tires and rolling those tires by little girls in their Sunday dresses. It's hanging out at Big Sam's juke joint on Saturday night and juking to sign me up on Sunday morning. It's picking wild berries and stealing Mr. Wilson's plums. It's mowing everybody's yard because your mama said so. It's what time out means, mama taking a break from whooping your behind, and the thought of a swarming strap still causes you to wake in the middle of the night in the cold sweat. It's Ross Burnett damming the doorway of education and James Meredith bulldozing over his ideology. It's the Sovereignty Commission playing hide and go seek with the lives of invisible children while ebony voices declare, we shall not be moved. Under the salacious sights of rifles and German shepherds, what is it to be Mississippi? It's no matter how highbrow we get, we still have hot sauce on the table when we eat. It's having